99 Dream family. We back at it, episode 18 of the 99 Dream journey. My name is Julian Taliaferro. You already know we coming again with another weekly business update, lessons of the week, and then topic for the day, which is distractions, right? But before I start, first I want to say my alarm's going to be going off this entire episode. So I hope y'all can bear with me through the episode. It's kind of annoying, but it's a distraction, right? But we still gonna get through it. And I do want to say though that I will be entering my final semester of college, right? This week, right? I'll be entering this last semester of college, and it's kind of funny, right? Because I'm saying bye to like one phase of my life, which is academics, but I'm also entering into this new phase, right? Which is entrepreneurship, which is building a business. So as I go back at it again, mixing entrepreneurship and academics, I hope I can have a productive semester, as I'm leaving, a phase of my life, but then entering a whole nother one. And when I look back, at least over this winter break and looking at, what I was able to get done, I'm happy with it. I think it was sufficient. I was able to cross enough things off my list, but one thing that I personally want to work on is knowing how to set goals, right? Setting goals that push me, but are attainable at the same time. So that's one thing I know I need to work on. And I also just want to say, I'm so happy that I started this episode series, right? That I started this 99 Dream journey just because I really do feel like it showcases what entrepreneurship is. That on a day in, day out basis, week in, week out basis, you're just pushing to fight. You're fighting for your dream, right? And it's an everyday thing. In the first episode that I ever put up, on this channel, I had an analogy of like a lumberjack and a forest and a thick forest, right? And he believes that there is a paradise, there is an oasis behind this thick forest, and he can't see it, but he has faith that it's there. So every day he's chopping down trees in this forest to create a path to the paradise. And one day the lumberjack may only be able to chop, one time. You know what I'm saying? That's all he can do. But say the next day he can chop 200 times and knocks down two trees, right? But then the third day he keeps chopping, right? So every day it's a different challenge. Every day it's a different battle. But you're always pushing forward to your goal, and you're never putting down that axe, right? You're never putting down that axe. You're always gonna have that axe in your hand, and you're always gonna chop, right? So that's the analogy, and I really do think that just epitomizes what this process is. And I think we can get started with the episode now, which is "It ain't over till it's over." And this is a Russell quote, which is a dope rapper who I talked about in some of my previous episodes that had the cool business model where you can pay whatever you want for like a product or his shows, and he allows you to get equity in his songs. But this quote, "It ain't over till it's over," you know, it just says what it says, but it also ties into my lesson, of the week that I'll talk about a little bit later. But it's never over until the fat lady sings. So remember that, and always keep pushing. Right? There's no end date until somebody says it's over or till it actually is over. Right? And when is that deadline? It's all subjective. Right? So honestly, you can keep pushing it back until you're successful. You can keep pushing it back until you achieve what you want to achieve, right? So that's the quote by Russell. "It ain't over till it's over." And now I can start in my business update. So this week I made a list of product photography firms that I'm going to be reaching out to and getting quotes from. Um, so that's a next phase for me with my product photos. And at a networking event, actually I was able to meet an OG, right, who was real cool guy, giving me a lot of knowledge and game. But he also was able to put me into contact with an amazing woman who does Amazon, right? And she's been successful in Amazon, so she was able to give me a lot of input on what my next steps on my e-commerce business should be, right, and how it can kind of move forward, doing FBA. And one of the amazing things that she said, right, was in my downtime as I'm waiting for my delivery, I need to start trying to understand Amazon's back end. I need to start understanding Amazon Seller Central platform, right? So I need to put it to use. So that means that I need to start doing retail arbitrage. So either retail arbitrage or get things from my house and then just sell it on Amazon so I can see what the process is like. But I don't really have anything around my house that I think I can sell on Amazon. So I'll probably start doing retail arbitrage and just go to Walmart, the clearance section, and try to find products and then put them on Amazon so I can see what it's like to package it, send it to Amazon. How long does it take for Amazon to process my order in their fulfillment center? How long does it take to go live? And then once I get a product, what is it like for a customer to buy it, right? What is the customer feedback? Do they request a return, right? Is there a problem with the product? And then what does that customer service look like on my end? So just trying to figure out all these, ins and outs now. And then if I make any mistakes with these random items, I won't make the same mistakes with my actual product, right? Which will be a benefit and it won't hurt my brand. And it's also really good to learn because, Amazon is so strict on a lot of these things. So, I'd rather learn it now than later when I have so many more orders that I have to, possibly deal with. So, that's what I'm kind of looking at for e-commerce. And then for this episode series with 99 Dream, I said that I need to start posting, twice a week on my IG page. I haven't started doing that yet. I think I'm just thinking about too much. So I really just need to, sit down, and get at it and start putting some content out because content is king. David Shan says it all the time, right? So that's one of the things that I know I need to do, right? And I'll probably start doing that this week. I am going to dedicate one day to sitting down and chopping up some of my clips and creating content for my 99 Dream journey, right? For my 99 Dream pages. So that's my business update on e-commerce and a little bit on my episode series. But now I can start with my lessons for the week. And it's really only one lesson. And it's just that networking is so important, right? And for me personally, it's a skill that I'm trying to improve. And I'm going to just tell y'all a story about what happened to me Wednesday. And, I'm going to be 100% real. You know what I'm saying? So personally, I'm hungry for success. You know, I know I'm hungry. I really want to succeed. I really want this e-commerce, to pop. But then I also want, all my future endeavors to be successful. So I really feel like now I'm setting the baseline for everything. And as I, you know, want to learn all these skills, and networking is one of them. And I have social skills, right? I know how to talk to people. I know how to have conversations. But on Wednesday, right, I went to a networking event and, with the full intention of getting to know people, creating connections, learning about their stories. So, I pull up to the networking event and, you know, it's kind of packed, you know what I'm saying? And everybody in there is talking to somebody. And for some reason, I just felt so uncomfortable, right? I felt, out of place. I was the youngest person in there, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like I was meant to be there, right? There was not that I wasn't meant to be there. I just felt uncomfortable, right? Really uncomfortable. So, and it's easy in your mind to kind of like rationalize, your insecurities, right? To rationalize things. So I ended up leaving, right? I walked in, scoped around, try to see if I could talk to anybody, but everybody kind of seemed closed off, right? There didn't seem like any entries to talk to people. So, I was like, this isn't, my day. So I just left, right? Simple like that. But, to be 100 with y'all, to be, real, I ended up calling my mom, as I'm leaving. I'm in my car and then I ask her and I'm like, I really don't think I had this networking thing figured out. You know what I'm saying? Like, what should I do? And then she ended up saying, like, straight like this, just turn around, turn the car around, go back in there, walk into the middle of a group, put your hand out, and then introduce yourself, right? That simple. So, that's what I ended up doing. I turned around, turned the car around, went back in the venue, did that same thing, walk into a group, shook out my hand, and started talking to people, right? And then once I was able to get over that initial barrier, right, everything was smooth, everything was, smooth sailing. And that's where I met the OG who was able to give me contact with the woman who does Amazon, right? That wouldn't have happened if I didn't turn the car around, right? If I didn't go back in there. So I say that to say, right, this story, say two things. One, have somebody to believe in you, right? Enough to push you, right? So have somebody who believes in you enough to push you, right? That's key, right? So in that instance, it was my mom, right? She knows how bad I want this, and she knows what I'm capable of as well. So she told me just turn around and go and get it, right? And I needed that at that moment. And then also too, it's just that it's never that serious, right? For me, it was just getting over that initial hump and just basically, kind of breaking the ice, if anything, just getting there and doing it. And it's never that serious. You just got to go and do it. So that's kind of like the two lessons from this this situation for me. But now I kind of feel like I've lifted a networking boulder off my shoulder, right? So this is all new territory for me, right? So I don't have any shame. I don't have any, embarrassment about being uncomfortable with networking, right? This is something I needed to learn. And the only way I grow was by being in places that I feel uncomfortable, right? Doing things that I feel uncomfortable with, right? So that's why I'm gonna be 100% real with y'all and let y'all know, what had happened. But the fact that I turned around, went back in there, and then had a successful rest of the networking event and was able to meet and connect with a lot of different people, right? After, you know, I walked in there, walked to a middle group and just stuck my hand out and introduced myself, right? It's that simple. So that's the lesson of the week, or two of them, have someone to push you because they believe in you. And then also, like, it's never that serious, you know what I'm saying? Just do it. And this all goes into, I feel like this can be applied to anything, but for me, it was applied to networking, right? And me trying to build up my networking skills. But now I can kind of talk about my topic for this week, which is distractions. And as I'm entering into this next semester, right, as I'm entering into my last semester, I know I need to be really in tune with what I do on a daily basis so I can kind of stay away from distractions. You know, in order to be successful this semester, I ended up setting like a nice schedule for me. You know what I'm saying? One that kind of incorporates everything that I want to achieve, whether it's, working out or training, and but also, my businesses, networking events and everything. So I set up the structure, but structure is really great in a vacuum. But every day kind of, every day gives you opportunities to stray from the structure, right? Every day presents you with things that can kind of divert your attention. So when I look back at this previous week where I didn't have school, but this previous week, there were kind of extended times where, I was just on my phone, right? Extended times of just not being productive. And it's not like I was wasting my whole day or anything, but it was a long enough time span for me to realize, like, why am I still on my phone? And this isn't to say that, like, I shouldn't have a break after doing work, or, I have to be working all the time or 24/7. But I feel like we all know when we've been resting a little bit too long. So, say we set aside an hour to rest, an hour is fine. But it's when we go over the hour and do, 2 hours of rest, or 2 hours, doing something that, we could have cut back on, right? Because that extra time could have been put to something else. And, I think that's that extra time that we kind of divert to rest is when it kind of gets, scary, right? And dangerous, right? Not in like the dangerous sense, but just the fact that you don't want it to be like a snowball effect to where you get used to extending your rest periods and then extending to where you're not being productive at all, right? Because that's my personality type wise, for me to let things snowball. So I have to stop things, in the inception, right? So it doesn't even get to that point. So if I tell myself that I'm gonna rest for an hour, I rest for an hour, right? I don't let it go over and then go over and go over. And especially now, because there are so many types of distractions, it's kind of hard to kind of fend them off, right? But one thing I do know is I feel like there's three different types of distractions. One is you're distracted when you're tired, right? Whether like physically or mentally. A distraction when due to your environment, right? And the third one is a distraction due to habit, right? So I feel like these three different situations can cause distractions. These three instances can create distractions, right? So you have to be cognizant and really, wary about knowing what environment are you in. Does this environment, you know, make me prone to doing a distraction? Does it make me prone to diverting my attention from what really matters? Am I so used to habit of just picking up my phone and clicking on a certain app? Is that a habit I need to break? What habits do I have that are not beneficial to myself, right? And then say I'm tired, right? It's okay to be tired, right? We all get tired, I'm human, but instead of being tired and just being on my phone for an hour, let me be tired, slouch on my couch and put on a social proof podcast episode, right? Just so there's a difference in that rest period, but it's still rest at the same time. And when you look at it abstractly, you know, say my one goal is e-commerce, right? My main goal is to be successful in e-commerce. Anything else I do can kind of be considered a distraction, right? If I go train for an hour, right, that could be considered a distraction. If I cut my hair for an hour, 2 hours, that can be considered a distraction. But those are needed and healthy distractions, right? Because they either alleviate stress or they maintain, what you're trying to build. They maintain yourself, right? But if you're on your phone for an hour, that's not a beneficial distraction, right? So trying to weed out what a distraction really is and how does it really affect you, right? So as I go into the school semester, I really just had to be focused on that because I really want to build my business. I want to take my business to another level, right? So take that extra step or another step to becoming even better and better as an entrepreneur and business owner. So it's actually kind of funny how God works too, because I ended up thinking of this topic of distractions on Saturday, and then I went to church on Sunday, right? And the pastor was preaching a sermon on the same topic about, being focused on your goal. And for me knowing that for me to get through this semester in a structure, for me to get through this 2023 year, in a structure, I can't do that by myself, right? The only way that I can do that is through God, right? Through His strength in me. So I'm gonna be leaning on Him throughout this entire process, right? This isn't something that I'm doing on my own. I can't do it on my own. I can only do it with Him, right? So that's just for me to know that, He's gonna be the one to give me that strength, and He's gonna be the one for me to allow to end up being successful, right? So um, that's kind of how I think about disturbances, or distractions, and, be very cautious of distractions is what I'm going to be, throughout this next couple weeks of the semester. And then just making sure that if I am going to be prone to a distraction, that I'm at least going to make it a beneficial one, right? Or I can still be effective, in that time span when I'm not supposed to be doing that or when I could be doing something else, if that makes sense. So, that's just my thoughts on it. Um, and yeah, so now we can kind of get into the next steps, which are to continue on my product photography search, and then also do that retail arbitrage so I can start seeing how the back end of Amazon looks, and then also look into PPC, right, which is the pay per click on Amazon. So seeing once I get my product up there, how do I really gain traction for my product, and then also, dedicate a day to content, right, for my entrepreneurship journey and my episode series. So, all right, let's get it, y'all. Going to achieve your 99 dream, and it's 99 dream because you are going to achieve your dream, and it would be 100%, but nobody's perfect, so you're gonna achieve 99% of that. And let's go and let's get it.